idcwoodcraft.com. This doesn't look right. What the hell? Look at these hands. Sasquatch looks like he's got thin legs and a big upper body. Something's wrong with this. What did I do wrong?
Hello, my CNC brother or sister. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and welcome to this video where I'm going to teach you a Vectric Vcarve fix if you run into a little problem. Sometimes we run into problems in Vectric, and well, all the time we do, in different ways where we don't really know what's going on. So I'm going to teach you one. I got an email from Graham, who is doing a cutout of Sasquatch, and it's not carving right, and it's a very simple project. So I'm going to show you what he was getting, and I'm going to show you exactly why, and I'm going to show you some other things you want to be looking for in your projects to make them come out a little bit better. Now, before I do, I want to show you something. So I have my microphone here, and I have my cup of coffee. And you want to make sure that your throat is working right, like that, right? So what you do is you take your microphone, you put it up on your neck, and then you take a swig of your coffee, like this. And then you listen to the recording and make sure your throat's working right. So I don't know why the hell I just did that, but it sounded kind of funny and strange to do. So we're going to jump into the Vectric software, and I'm going to show you what's going on, and when we're done, I'm going to teach you a business tip. This Sasquatch thing is a brilliant time to teach you about business and these weird niches you can get into, like Sasquatch. And I'm going to tell you exactly why these are huge niches to get really successful in if you really want to dive into it. Okay, let's get into Vectric, look at Graham's Sasquatch, and I'll show you how to fix this kind of problem if you ever run into it.
idcwoodcraft.com.
Okay, we are in Graham's project, and so you see this Sasquatch figurine. Very simple project, one vector, and he wants to carve out the shape. So I have created a toolpath, we call it Profile 1, that shows what this Sasquatch is supposed to look like. So we're going to double click into that and simply calculate. Now, before I do, a couple tips along the way with the Vectric software. You notice that my profile toolpath is a shorter menu than usual. That's because Vectric has added a convenient little tool. At the very top where it says cutting depths, there's a little checkbox where it says show advanced toolpaths or toolpath options. When you select that, you open up another menu down here. So we don't always use that other menu. It's got lots of little tools in there that I have taught some of them. But in this case, we don't really need it. So we're simply going to turn it off. And that allows us a much shorter, smaller screen. So Grant has set up a complete cut through of 3/4 of an inch. And he's set it up for a compression end mill 1/4 inch. And he's set on the outside right. So if you look at the box right here, you've got a picture of the little circle on the outside of the box. That means that the router bit is going to cut around the outside. Normal, set to go, all looks good. We click calculate, and we look at our toolpath, and something doesn't look right. We look at the hand here, the hand over here on the left foot, and we do a split screen by pressing the icon right up here so we can see both screens. And I'm going to just turn this toolpath off, and you can see that the right hand is a full hand, yet over here it's not. We're going to preview this toolpath so we can get a better look at it. It looks like Sasquatch on a diet who's been doing a lot of working out. But look at the right hand. It just does not look right at all. And the left hand clearly is missing the fingers. So you have an amputee Sasquatch, and he's got a tiny little foot on the back and an average human-sized foot there, and his legs are looking a little funny. Something is seriously wrong with this. Now, I'm going to turn the Toolpath demo on, or the, what do they call this? They call this the Toolpath 2D thing. So you know when you run a Toolpath, then you see in your image over here in the drawing on the left, has all the lines of the Toolpath. So that's this little button right up here. When you hover over it, it says Toggle Toolpath 2D Drawing Visibility. I'm going to turn that back on, and it didn't show up. Why is that not showing up? I think when you turn it on, let's try to check that. Okay, there we go. You have to check the Toolpath. So we're going to look at the left-hand side over here, and you see this is the vector, the dark line, and then we have the arrows on the inside. In the Toolpath, we told it to go on the outside. So what's going on here? Well, it's actually an interesting, simple little fix. Let's just take a quick look at his drawing. So I'm going to maximize that drawing. I did that a little fast, so I want to show you. Right up here in this little area right here is a little box. You want to click the middle box, and that'll expand this window to the full screen. So we expand that, and we look at Sasquatch, and we want to assess this project. I can tell you right now the problem is the vector is not closed. So Vectric is misinterpreting this because of that. It is technically running along the outside of the vector as far as it sees it by the direction of the line or the start point. Now, what I mean by start point, if you click on the vector, make it turn purple, and hit N for node, right up here we see a green node right there. And so that is the start point. And what the software is going to do is say, okay, I'm going to go around what I think is the outside of that line, and Vectric is choosing the inside of that line. But here is exactly why this problem is happening. If you look at the mouth, the vector is not closed. So Vectric can't interpret it properly as this being the outside of Sasquatch. It's a very easy fix. You want to go back to your drawing section, and we're going to highlight the Sasquatch. Nope, we're still in node mode. So to get out of node mode, just hit N again. And we have Sasquatch highlighted. So we want to close this vector. And all we have to do is come over under Edit Objects, and down at the bottom are 3 buttons. You have Close or Join Vectors with a Straight Line, Close with a Smooth Curve, and the other one is Vectors by moving endpoints to a common point. I'll have to teach you about that one later. But right now, since Sasquatch is a curvy item, we want to use curves. All you have to do is click this button. Now, I'm going to move this over to here so you can see this unjoined area. And I'm going to click that button. One click, and it closes Sasquatch's mouth up. So now Sasquatch can't talk. But Vectric can properly interpret this now. So we're going to switch back over to Toolpaths. And I'm going to split the screen by hitting the split screen button. And we have this weird looking Sasquatch thing. So we're going to double click back into the Toolpath. You notice when you click back in Toolpaths, the vectors that you selected before should be highlighted, but now it's not highlighted. That's because we modified the vector, and so now Vectric does not interpret it as the same vector. So we have to reselect Sasquatch. We're going to click Calculate. And you see now the Toolpath has changed dramatically. We're going to reset the preview, and then we're going to preview all Toolpaths. And double click the outside material, and that will make it go away. We've got a little bit right there, and little bits and pieces right up in here. But now Sasquatch looks real. Looks like a Sasquatch. All right, so that's one thing. Now I want to show you one other thing while we're here. Graham, this will help you out and anybody else who's doing this. Sasquatch in its nature is nothing but a bunch of curves, right? There's no straight lines on body whatsoever. We're going to close this. We're going to switch back over to the drawing by clicking this button right up here. And then we're going to expand this drawing by clicking the middle square button. And while Sasquatch is highlighted, press the letter N. And you notice that there are blue nodes. These are nodes that come up. This is how the software interprets things that it's supposed to do. So the blue nodes, there's a few blue nodes, and there are many, many black nodes. From black node to black node is a straight line. And we don't want a straight line. Sasquatch isn't a straight line anywhere. So what we want to do is switch this all to smooth nodes, which is what the blue ones are. And the way you do that is simply create a window around the whole thing while you're in node mode. And you'll notice that the nodes now turn red. That means they're selected. And simply press the letter S on your keyboard. And everything is blue. Now, why are we doing this? Because we're smoothing everything out and we are taking corners out. When you have black nodes in there, those are considered corner nodes. They're distinct transition nodes. And when you're carving things that you have overlaid, this probably comes from a bitmap, Vectric is going to create some of those nodes that are straight lines. And if it's lettering and words, it's going to come out really, really choppy. So you want to get those switched over to blue nodes, and this is how you do it. So now we've got a nice smooth transition on everything. One of the things you want to be aware of when you're doing this, though, is sometimes the nodes, when they go smooth like this, they will go way out of shape and cause some distortion in the project. So you just want to be careful and pay attention to your corners particularly. So now that we have that, we're going to hit the letter N to turn node off, go back to the toolpath by clicking the blue button up in the upper left. And we're going to re-enter into the toolpath profile. We're doing that to make sure that Vectric has still picked up the vector. And we know that it has. We're in the toolpath and it's purple. Now, one other thing while we're in this toolpath, you notice that there's a little green dot right at the mouth. This was the start point of the bit. So when you start your project, the one thing to keep in mind is this is kind of an important area of the Sasquatch. People are looking at the contour. When your CNC router bit enters into the material at this point, it's going to leave a little divot. Because it's diving straight down, you're not getting any, the tool deflection isn't happening, which I have explained in other videos. In this case, it doesn't matter because it's the mouth. It's going to create a little inward mark there. But in other projects, you don't want it where the visible stuff is. You want to typically make your start points at the bottom of the project that people aren't going to notice. So we want the start point to be down at the bottom of the foot somewhere, one of these feet. And here's how you do it. First of all, we're going to get out of this toolpath, and then we're going to press the letter N to get back in the node mode. And we're going to hover over one of these nodes here. And I'm going to hover over this one, and you press the letter P on your keyboard. And you notice now that node has turned green. And because of the flags, you know it's still a smooth node. And now, if we escape or press the letter N to get out of node mode, we're going to double click back into the profile. And now that green dot has moved. And now the router bit is going to start down here. And you won't have some kind of funny divot up here. It's not as important here, but it's important on other projects that you make. You want your start points to be at the bottom of the projects where it's not going to be seen. We'll recalculate this because we have to, because we changed this node location. Right now, the calculated toolpath still is up by the mouth. So we have to recalculate so it can recalculate from that start point. We do that. And now we have the red line down at the bottom that shows that we are starting at that point, and the router bit is now going to do its project, and it's going to do it the right way.
This This looks a lot better. Let's take a look. Oh, now we have a real Sasquatch. So that's what my problem was. Look at the hand here, there. Now we got Sasquatch hands. Sasquatch legs. He's not a skinny thing. Big Sasquatch body. I'm Sasquatch.
If this little Vectric tip was helpful, give me a thumbs up. Now let's talk about this little business tip that I really want you to understand when it comes to CNC business. When it comes to business, psychology is everything. Everything. We're going to use this Sasquatch thing as something to teach you about business and one aspect of marketing and business for you to be aware of. Not really marketing, but for you to embrace to make your business successful. When it comes to the Sasquatch thing, there are two groups of people that will buy Sasquatch stuff. The one group is the one that will buy it because it's fun. Right? Either the tourist who is in the tourist area, the Pacific Northwest, where Sasquatch is supposed to be. And then there's the other fanatical ones that absolutely believe in Bigfoot. We know that Bigfoot is not real, does not exist. 40 years ago, some guy came up with this Bigfoot idea, got a gorilla suit, and got his buddy with a camera, ran through the woods for a 30-second video, and that little thing turned into an entire industry where people have made a lot of money. So I want to talk to you about why that is, that this happens, and why you need to understand this aspect about business. So you have the two groups, the tourist group. I live in Madison, Indiana, and let's just say I make Sasquatch figurines like Grant is doing, and I set up at the local store. I'm not going to sell a whole lot of them because this is not Sasquatch country. Now, if I was up in the Pacific Northwest, I would sell 20 times more. I don't know how many more, because it's touristy, and I would make a ton of money, because when you're selling to tourists in the tourist zone, it's just kind of accepted that things just cost more. And so you just do that. So if you're in that area and you're making Sasquatch figurines, by all means, this little dollar piece of wood, which it's going to take 3 minutes to cut out, you can charge 30 bucks for. That's a killer profit. And when you're in business, your business is to make profit. You're not in business to judge what people are buying. They don't care, right? They care about what they want to satisfy themselves. So the other group, not the tourist group, but the other group is the fanatical group. And this is the one I want you to understand. There are people out there that absolutely believe that Sasquatch exists. Same with the people that absolutely believe that the earth is flat. Even you can sit there and prove it with lasers, and here's what they will do. They will tell you your laser is broken. Here is why this happens. When people start to embrace something, once they start to talk about it, now they're committed to it. And once we commit, we do not want to be wrong, even to ourselves, right? We'll start to admit to ourselves that oh yeah, or we'll start to believe in ourselves, that's real. And then we start to get kind of reasonable with ourselves and start to realize, wait a minute, the earth is not flat. We don't want to admit to ourselves that we were wrong. This is an ego thing. And it's very important to understand this. The less self-confidence a person has in themselves, the more they are going to hold on to these beliefs because they need them. And so if you can find these groups that are fanatical about this and understand what they want, you can sell to them under this particular psychology. It's called confirmation bias. In the example of the earth is flat group, if you sit there and try to prove to them that they're wrong, their inner world will not let them admit that they are wrong. They know it deep inside, but they put this wall up between themselves. We've all experienced this in some way, shape, or form, and we feel foolish to admit to ourselves that I've been wrong all along, like unicorns. It's even harder to admit we're wrong to other people after we've been endorsing ourselves. It becomes this inner conflict. So, when you find these groups, your job is to understand them. Right? This is why I'm always saying get into a niche so you can understand the inner working of this whole thing. People never, ever buy something because out of logic, put it that way. When you find these people, you want to understand the emotional inner workings of it and where these confirmation biases are that they need them. Because in this particular type of market, the fanatical market, you can cater into that and do super well, because the fanatics will pay a lot more money to put in their outer world their confirmation bias, the things that will confirm their own biases. If you can identify a market in this area and learn that inner psychology of them, then you can start talking to them that confirms their biases. And when they get that confirmation of their own bias, their inside emotional makeup is going, this guy understands me, or this girl understands me. And that makes you a friend. And then you can sell to them. When people feel understood, they buy. And they will pay more. I say pay more, right? Some people feel funny about that. Why should I charge $30 for a $2 Sasquatch thing? You know, you only charge 10 bucks. That is your own inner working that you're thinking, I can't charge that. We don't think we're worth that. And so that is us looking at ourselves, looking at our own value. We have to look at what the market values and what the market will value something at. But they're not buying the Sasquatch figurine. They're buying the idea of the Sasquatch figurine, what it represents to their own bias. This is what you have to cater to. When people buy something, they're not buying the thing. They're buying the thing that's selling the thing. In this case, the confirmation of their own bias of Sasquatch is real. And so they buy a little statue to give them that confirmation. Graham, you should probably carve on that thing, Sasquatch is real. Watch what happens if you can infiltrate into the Sasquatch's real groups. Right? Just that statement is a confirmation bias statement. So food for thought, brother. If you got an interesting business tip out of this one, then give me a thumbs up, a comment down below. Tell me the aha moment you got out of it. And with the Vectric thing, I hope you got something out of that as well. Understand part of the Vectric design. Throat check whenever you need to. Get your microphone, get your coffee, put your microphone on your neck, and take a swig. I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft. Have a great day. IDCWoodcraft.com